Hey, yo, welcome back to AIW's The Card is Going to Change. My name is Ronald Two Legs, and as always, I am joined by AIW owner, John Thorne. What's up, Thorne?
I'm here.
We're back.
Podcast.
Look at us, 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, we went a little. Yeah, it's a little over like a week before we recorded again, but what can you do? State of the world, right?
We're switching it around. We're throwing it. I mean, I think last time we put it out on Friday, so as long as we get this out by Friday, I think we're on a good 7-day. We're good. We're good. Keeping everybody on their toes.
Yeah, is that right? Friday? All right.
Yeah, I thought so because I thought about it and I was like,
we recorded it on. No, well, we on Patreon it hit Friday, so maybe we'll do it like that again.
Maybe that's
Patreon got it on Friday or Saturday, and then the public got it on Monday.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Either way, we're back. What's been up with you? I saw you did finally get to get out of here for a day or two. I guess we could blame it on that. You did have some vacation stuff that got ruined by that crazy hurricane. You were finally able to cash in on some of that stuff.
Just did a little quick, like day and a half to Orlando to do Halloween Horror Nights that I go to every year, and then I was supposed to go earlier this month, and then the hurricane kind of canceled the flight and canceled everything, and then I didn't think I was going to be able to go, and then just kind of like on a whim, just like looked, and I was just like, fuck it, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I was able to get the days off of the real job, and just kind of worked out schedule wise, with everything. So it was like a nice little break. I went like AEW Wednesday right into the airport on Thursday night, and then went to Halloween Horror Nights Friday, came home Saturday.
There you go. It's a fun little, little getaway. Got
a little break. I don't do too much vacationing, you know what I mean? So quick. I like it quick, nice and quick.
Yeah, get in, get out. When it lines up like that, especially, with work and stuff, sometimes it's hard to get all that stuff to line up.
I'm too scared. I'm too scared to spend the money, you know what I mean? I always feel like financially the world's gonna collapse around me, as it almost did today, as somebody stole my identity today.
Yeah, and I saw that.
Joke's on them, because a $44 Wingstop order was enough to be out of the ordinary for my card.
Your bank, they put like
shows you how little's in my checking account.
I was gonna say, what happened? They put like hot sauce on the order, and your bank was like, whoa, those aren't plain tenders. Well, that is not Thorne ordering those.
Yeah, Wingstop, that was a flag. But
like, he doesn't go there.
Yeah, I had like I was getting like some spam texts for a while over the summer, so I didn't even think it was a legit thing.
Yeah,
and then like I got a call on my work phone, which I was like, didn't even know that my work phone was attached to my bank account. Mm-hmm. And they were just like, it was like $47 or something. Wasn't looking too good for my bank account. So there was a cause for concern. And it was a fraud alert. They do those like little dollar transactions, to see if it works.
Yeah. So
there was like a bunch of like, $3, charges or whatever earlier today, and then they tried to go big with a big Wingstop order, and that was quickly shut down. But I'm without a bank card for, I don't know, probably a week, I guess.
I think they get them out pretty quick anymore, to be honest.
They had to lock, you know what I mean, lock all my shit down. So I'm pretty much, locked up until I get a new card, which, whatever. Keep me from overdrafting my own account.
Yeah. It's a real pain in the ass, though, that's for sure.
But yeah, that's about it. I mean, not a lot of exciting things going on in my life. Just, getting ready for Hell on Earth. Had a very good meeting with it. A lot of people were speculating what the meetings and the good news we were talking about on the last podcast was. Mm-hmm. Had a very good venue meeting last week, in between whenever we podcasted.
Yeah.
About a return to the greater Cleveland area in 2025. Had another good venue meeting as well. So it's looking like 2 options, and one of them is going to be newer. So we're just waiting on the green light and all this stuff. So lots of movement, lots of cool things going on. But like we had said on the podcast, it's going to be super reduced premium seating. That was one thing that we did discuss and finalize and everything. And we are going to be doing some stuff in at least January and March. We will be back in the Cleveland area. It looks like as of today, I was able to lock down 2 official dates. So
it's awesome.
Very exciting stuff going on as far as that's concerned, because I know people were wondering when we were going to be back into the kind of greater West Side Cleveland area. So we were able to lock down 2 2025 dates officially today as of this recording.
That's exciting. I had a couple people actually reach out to me after the last podcast when we discussed kind of going, scaling down a bit, and kind of bringing that like environment, the kind of back. And I had a couple of people say that they were really excited about that. And, just hearing us kind of talk about that and discuss it, they said they felt excited for that future and kind of was into the same kind of idea that we were. So people are excited.
I just think, just changing the atmosphere, getting the, changing the vibes. I really feel strongly about that, and kind of getting back to that. Like, obviously I hope that we were going to be able to grow into that big Temple Live room. We came close to filling that lower bowl a few times and it was awesome. And we saw tremendous growth in there and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I think there's more value in making AIW a hotter ticket as opposed to like a begging people to come ticket. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we are the hottest wrestling ticket as far as independent wrestling goes in Northeast Ohio, and I think that we need to act accordingly. And when you're running a bigger room like that, you have to market yourself differently, and you have to go about things totally differently. And I think going smaller and making it's going to be a lot harder to get a ticket, and especially, anywhere with a seat, and I know some people want a seat. A lot of these venues are going to be really reduced to some standing room only. We're looking at a big capacity cut, and that's all I'm really going to say until we get all the marketing together and all that stuff, which will be soon, hopefully. The match I got for January is instantly going to sell that building out. I know it. So especially with, the reduced capacity and all that stuff. So
I can't wait.
It's just exciting. It's exciting times, it's very exciting. And I think, it is going to make it a lot harder for, those day of purchasers, but for the AIW hardcores and the people that, really like ride for AIW and are always in that front row and all that stuff. I think it's going to be, it's going to be cool for them. However, it's going to be half, you know what I mean? Like it's probably going to be half of those tickets available. So, I think we're going to be able to sell those, first 2 rows. I think we're probably going to only do 2 rows maybe, at least at the one venue that we're talking to. So that's it. 2 rows premium seating, everything else standing room only. No bring your own chairs, none of that stuff. They're not going to allow it. So it's just, 2 rows probably, and that's going to be it. So, I think it's going to create a lot of excitement when, and you're going to want to be on that Patreon, level for when those tickets go on sale, all that stuff. I just think it's going to make it more exciting. And then, again, we're running these places where there's a GA capacity as well that is very obtainable to hit, that we certainly exceeded almost every time at the Temple. Mm-hmm. So we're probably going to continue to exceed that. You know what I mean? So at both places we're actually talking to right now, for sure the place for January and March, So that also creates some excitement because, you're going to have to kind of buy those GAs in advance as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for these new places. The pictures you sent and some of that stuff is pretty cool. And I like to get back to the to the standing room. I think the crowd and the atmosphere in some of those Winchester shows with the standing room only was a lot of fun.
Odeon, I mean,
Odeon too, especially, yeah.
Even think a lot about when the Shrine was doing well, there was a ton of standing room in between the bleachers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is the stuff that we want to get back to. You know what I mean? That's just great atmosphere, great visuals, great all that stuff. So I feel very strongly about that and going smaller. And I met with these these venues that are aware. You know what I mean? These are legitimate venues and are aware of AIW, and they've seen what we can do, and are excited that we're going to kind of try to bring it to a smaller scale to these places because it will most likely be a sure thing for their locations, and I'm very excited about it, and they're very excited about it.
Yeah. The one thing I did want to talk about too, in case anyone missed it, I know that this was just recently announced, talking about Hell on Earth. We did announce a meet and greet for Hell on Earth. We got Tully Blanchard coming in. You had kind of alluded to that in the chat and talking about bringing somebody in, and I know you were in contact with him and talks back and forth as an ambulance goes by in the house.
Yeah, it came together really quick. I mean, I didn't even really start talking to him until last week. So the deal came together very, very, very quick. I was pretty satisfied with what we had locked down for Black Friday, and I just started thinking. I was like, yeah, you know what, like. Let me see if I can get some kind of legend added on to it. All of this kind of chaos that we've put together here, and he was a name that I kept coming back to in my brain as somebody we never booked before, and has never really been to the area to my knowledge. Mm-hmm. One of those kind of rare guys for a signing, and I happen to have I had his phone number, and I shot him a text, and we started kind of negotiating a deal, and. He was a little concerned with it, being the day after the holiday and all that stuff. And, he got back to me probably after we podcasted, because he said he was going to have a conversation, with his family. And then he said, okay, as long as you fly me out on Friday, I'll be able to do it. And, we were able to work it out, and I found a flight that worked for him and all that stuff. So Tully Blanchard will be there on Black Friday, doing the pre-show meet and greet. So super rare. I would expect this to probably be the only time we'll be bringing him to AIW. He's not doing a ton of signings anymore at this point. So don't miss your opportunity for that either.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think we have a lot of names coming in for Hell on Earth. There's a lot of in-ring talent, that we've talked about. You got the Duke, John Wayne Murdoch coming in. You got Beast Mordos, Justice coming back. Alec Price was announced. But
Donovan Dijak.
Donovan Dijak coming back, or not coming back, excuse me. There's another name. That was the first name announced. But then, you throw in a really cool meet and greet like that, a legend like Tully Blanchard. And I think East Lake is a good town for that. I think, we've had Jeff Jarrett there. We've had some other big name.
Well, this is the thing that I want to discuss, though, is with the plan to try to go to these smaller venues, you're going to see less of these meet and greets from us. So take advantage of them when you can, because like I said, before, like, we were really trying to grow into these bigger spaces and book these bigger meet and greets, and it was all part of that plan, and it came with more spending and all these different things that just kind of the economics of that plan were different than the plan that we're going forward with in 2025 now by kind of going smaller. But I would not expect a lot of meet and greets and signing and legends on the schedule next year in 2025. There'll be times and places for them, sure, but especially in the kind of East Lake is Cleveland-ish area. It's not that far outside of the city. Mm-hmm. I would not expect based on as of now what it looks like our schedule is going to be at for 2025. I wouldn't expect to see a lot of these meet and greet guys coming to the Cleveland shows. Maybe at the Shrine, but there's not. We don't have a lot that we're looking at right now for the Shrine next year because there's a lot of that still up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
So not a lot of meet and greet opportunities. As of now, it's looking like next year. So certainly take advantage of them when you can, especially somebody the caliber of Tully Blanchard.
Right. Yeah, it's like I said, Eastlake a great spot for it too. It's a big venue. So you're not going to be cramped in there or anything like that. A lot of room. We are sold out of front row seats are sold out. I think there's a few rows with one or two more rows of premium seating left.
Second and third. There's second and third rows. Those are starting to move a little bit this week. So make sure you grab those. Again, beyond the second row, you're probably not going to see you're probably not going to see third and fourth rows at a lot of these shows going forward anymore either. So, this is going to, outside of the Shrine and stuff like that, you're not going to see a lot of, floor seating anymore. So take advantage of it where you can get it.
Yeah. That was something that was, brought up in the Discord. We do, questions on the Discord every week for the podcast. If there's something you want to ask, you can ask in the Discord. Ed had a question about, the foreseeable future in Akron. We did kind of talk about, that there was plans for that building or something like that, it could be sold or something like that. And, so it's not totally positive or something like that.
So I do think that they did get it assessed, and it is a possibility that it could get put for sale. But with it being like a private, like a organization, it's like a club almost. The Shriners. I don't know exactly what the designation is, but there's a long process that comes with that, as far as if they are going to attempt to put the building and property up for sale. Mm-hmm. So they are still kind of, taking dates for next year as of now. So we're working with them with the calendar and things like that. And, we've been in that position before is, sometimes the building just disappears,
right.
And we're aware it's a possibility. And, if that's a possibility, that's a possibility. But that's the thing is, they need business, right? And then, we were a sure thing for them, and then our crowds have dwindled the last few times. And you know what I mean? There's just this kind of domino effect that comes with all of that stuff. And so I don't know, and I'm not saying that an AIW crowds could also save the building either. I don't know. But I know certainly, our crowds going down, it's, results in them, selling less concessions and in beer and things like that. And, they're getting just overall less rentals. I just think people are renting halls like that less. So there's a lot of different factors going into it. But right now we're kind of at the same place that we were at. It's kind of like all up in the air.
Mm-hmm. So, I guess, the answer would be for the foreseeable future, as far down the road as the dates we have, sure. But past that, I wouldn't, it's impossissible to say.
Well, even having dates isn't like a guarantee.
True.
We've had, we had a date at the Odeon and they got moved with a week's notice. You know what I mean? Like,
that was a fun week.
You just never know. You just never know. So it's just kind of like everything's just kind of at a wait and see right now. So it's a wait and see.
Fair. Ed also kind of asks something I was going to bring up. AIW took a little bit of a road trail, not a road trip, but a field trip, I suppose, down to AEW. AEW, our friend Tony Khan was in town, and you took the AIW crew and students down to, was it Dynamite or Collision? Which one is it? Collision?
It's Dynamite.
Dynamite.
Yeah,
it was Collision Saturday, right?
Yeah. I was able to take quite a few people, from the school and staff and all kinds of people down there with me. I know you had a trunk or treat engagement, so you had to decline the invite.
Yeah, appreciate it, but had the little guy was doing some stuff. So he's at that prime age of trick or treating, so you got to strike, when he's that age. So
yeah, but it was a fun time. We were able to kind of go down and enjoy the show. went backstage and saw some people, said hello to a few people, just kind of seeing how the machine works, live television, all that stuff. Was able to take Pedro back there, which I think he was very, very excited about being able to, be backstage during a live television broadcast. That I don't think that he ever thought that was something that he would be able to do. So Pedro was very excited when I handed him that all access pass and said, come with me.
Hell yeah.
And walked him back there, and we saw some people and said hello to some people, and it was overall, it was a pretty good day. It was fun. It was a good show. They had a pretty decent sized crowd, in the Wolstein Center. Saw all kinds of, people rocking AIW merch. We certainly appreciate that. It was overall, it was a good experience. It's always good when you could take, that amount of people down to a show. Lots of students have probably never been to an AEW show before like that. We were able to kind of get them in and, let them experience that. So it was super cool.
Yeah, and we did see, I thought I saw some pictures, some video clips, some familiar faces, some AIW doing, a little some extra work and some stuff like that. So that's always cool to see, too.
Yeah, there's a couple guys that wanted to get in there and mix it up with Big Bob Lash, and they found out the hard way. I will not expose those names, but it was super cool. Just all around great experience. It's always, AEW is always like super welcoming and accommodating when they come to the Cleveland area, which is I don't know, it's weird. You just don't expect things like that. You know what I mean? And
right.
It just couldn't. It couldn't be a cooler, more, just nicer experience. So, it was great to see some people and say hello. But, it's kind of like, get in there, get out of back there and just, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Everyone's working, so it's just like kind of do like a little lap, break off into some conversations here and conversations there. And, and then it's just like, all right. I'll get out of here. So
you don't want to overstay your welcome too long, right?
Yeah, especially I was pounding those Coors Lights.
Yeah, that's always fun. I mean, it's a night off for you. You know what I mean? You should enjoy a couple pops. Scott Random, friend of the show, of course, friend of the promotion, always wants throwing the questions in there. He was curious to kind of focus on some of the positives of 2024. He was curious which kind of special guest, I guess he put that in parentheses kind of so it's a little looser of a title, special guest of 2024 were they the easiest to deal with in regards to like in-ring performance and or like creative direction. Obviously we sometimes have them work with some of the talent and stuff like that. Was there anybody who pops out of your head that was like a real joy to work with? I mean, most of the people, pretty much anyone we bring in, really.
I can't really think of like any bad experiences really off the top of my head. Like if there's a bad experience, it leaves my head pretty quickly. Yeah, I mean, everybody's usually pretty cool, and, like, you instantly want to bring them back. Like, Heath, you want to bring back, or, Jake Hager, even though that's probably not popular to say today. Yeah. You get a little, let's talk about having a couple pops. Maybe he had a couple pops yesterday.
Yeah, no doubt.
But he was super easy to deal with. There was all kinds of, we've had some, some great luck. You know what I mean? Microman, almost left him abandoned because we couldn't find him in the building.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle was great to work with this year. Teddy Long, just think about all the people. Demolition was awesome. Like, we've had all kinds of great luck this year, really, with some really, really cool legends of the game. So I can't really say, you know what I mean? There's not like a favorite or one that really stands out. I don't know. Is there somebody that really stands out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a favorite per se, but there was a big one for me was Jimmy Hart, and just because he had been around for so long, some of the guys like Jake Hager was cool, like you said, whatever, barring whatever this stuff that happened, whatever, yada yada. But and some of the other guys, let's say like Max Caster, really cool guy. But those are guys that I've seen around recently in wrestling recently. Jimmy Hart is a guy that I can remember being a little kid and be like the mouth of the South and like the megaphone and all that stuff. And then when he came around, both times. When we had him in Akron, he was great. And then when we had him again here in Columbus, he was just so great. And it was just it was surreal to me, as he was someone who I remember being a little kid. Like I said, that's like core memory type stuff of wrestling. And then he walks past you and pats you on the back and goes, "Hot enough for you today, kid?" Like making little jokes like that. Like,
didn't you get something for your dad too? Didn't you?
Yeah. I got an 8x10 sign from my dad. And he was like, "Oh yeah, it was just really cool about it." It was just a great guy, and that's someone that I remember. Like I said, like core memory type shit, and that's stuff that like really sticks with me. I have a lot of fun. I love my job, as I always say. I get to work with a lot of the wrestlers kind of firsthand. At the very least, I say, "Hey, what's your song? What do you come out?" Sometimes we get a little back and forth. There's jokes, if I say the wrong one or this or that, whatever. But he was just so great. Jimmy Hart was just so great. Like I said, all day. Anytime you see him, hey buddy, how you doing? Hey kid, how's it going? He was just great, man. And it was cool. Like there's those moments where I laugh and go like, this is my job. This is what I'm doing all day, is hanging out with the Mouth of the South. Like that is
and that's
awesome.
kind of like, I kind of think the same thing about, when we had Demolition, they couldn't have been cooler. And they're like just two iconic 80s, early 90s images, right? Like everybody knows that image of them, on a Coliseum home video. I'm, dating myself, but like, if you went into a video store as a kid, like you saw Demolition on the cover of a Coliseum home video, in the video store available for rent or something like that. Like just two of the most recognizable wrestlers from that era. And they could not have been two cooler dudes, you know what I mean? All day, talking jerky with Kaplan and just stuff like that. It's just, I love stuff like that. And that's going to be kind of the bummer of getting away from, going to these smaller places and, not going like, okay, who can we get to try to, fill these bigger rooms, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of going to be the downfall. Yeah. And that is where, probably for the foreseeable future, as it's available, you will see only that stuff really happening in Akron probably. That'll probably be what the transition is. We kind of had this whole, not we, like me, I just kind of had this whole kind of reimagining of what to do, for the business, and I thought Cleveland is doing so well, and it sounds dumb, but I thought going smaller would make it a hotter ticket, and then, kind of transitioning any of those big meet and greets on the schedule to only Tadmore Shrine shows, only in Akron, could maybe help beef those shows up a little bit. Instead of, you're doing Kurt Angle in Cleveland, you do Kurt Angle in Akron, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Yeah. To where, you're moving those kind of bigger meet and greets that we were, putting in Cleveland, and now we're, kind of really focusing in on that stuff for the Akron area. So just kind of things that I've thought about, but, that is kind of the bummer of going smaller in Cleveland is, especially as it looks, is we're probably going to do less Akron shows next year. So there's probably going to be less of those cool kind of legend opportunities next year, which is, I think everybody kind of always looks forward when we're able to kind of lock in a super cool legend, you know what I mean? Like Jimmy Hart or Demolition or Teddy Long, or, you know what I mean? Like any of those people we worked with, it's always just a delight usually. So, just kind of, I know that wasn't initially the question, but sure. That's kind of like, my thought is kind of like really kind of focusing that type of stuff in on Akron in 2025 with the meet and greets and things like that. And then for Cleveland, it's really going to be about that kind of atmosphere and vibe and, really kind of in-ring show based, kind of make it a hotter ticket sort of thing. Yeah.
Another one, too, I kind of thought of when we were talking about that, and, Legends one that I really thought was a great guest was Jerry Lynn. And for the reasons,
Could not have been cooler, right?
yeah, I mean, and it was cool to me, especially for the fact because I got to watch him like really work with a lot of the wrestlers and a lot of the talent, and really kind of talk to them and give them like real advice. And then when he came to the bar and kind of hung out with us, he talked a lot more like business side of stuff, which sometimes the boys, we get to the after parties, that's like the last thing anyone wants to really talk about or really gets talked about. But with Jerry, that was kind of a lot of what, we talked about the business side of stuff a lot more, and I don't have as much experience, like I said, I haven't been around as long, so I don't get a lot of that, but it was fun to hear Jerry talk about that because he's such a nice guy and he's just so candid and really kind of told us a lot. I learned so much that night, you know what I mean? I can't imagine the guys, what they got, but I learned like, so much as just like a normal guy.
It's like, I'm trying to think of like, when you bring in guys like that and like you're able to get them kind of at least comfortable in hanging out and in conversations, it almost turns out like you've like entered this like very obscure internship. You know what I mean? And like you are getting this, like you're getting this just weird knowledge. You know what I mean? And like you never know if you're ever gonna need it. But like it's like when you bring these legends in, sometimes it's just like you've entered this weird internship program, you know what I mean? And they have so much information that they can give you, and like so much advice.
He did a seminar,
and it's so interesting.
Yeah, like he did that seminar. Yeah. Sorry, my internet cut out there. But yeah, like he did that seminar, and then like later on in the night, like when we were done and during the show, it was like it just continued. Like he was done and he ended the seminar, but all night that he was there, like he just kept dropping knowledge all night long. If you were paying attention and listening to Jerry, he was teaching people shit the entire time he was there. You know what I mean?
Right. That's what I mean. It's just like sometimes like there's just so much information to be gathered from some of these people that come in, like even like when Paul London is around, like he's another guy that it's just like he has so much information in his brain. He's wrestled so many different people, from so many different eras, and like he has so many stories, and like it is you get all these little gems that you can pick up from people. And you never know if you're ever going to need that information or not, but it's there, and it just, it helps, somewhere along the way of your decision making and, development, and, it applies somewhere along the way during your kind of wrestling, experience, I guess, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And, that's the part I love about, when you book these kind of legends and things like that.
Paul's a great one. I love Paul London. He's the best. Paul's a fun one to me too, because I've had a few experiences with Paul where we'll go, we go to the after party, and the place where we go first stop over there sometimes has a handful or a decent crowd size of just regular bar people that are not there for our after party. And the one time in particular was very crowded, and we're all standing around outside and, having a beverage or two, whatever, talking, sharing some stories. And somebody brings up something about him and the Big Show wrestling. And some of the random people that were standing around were like, wait, what? You wrestled the fucking bit? Like, they know the Big Show. Even your average, just very, very basic knowledge wrestling person knows the Big Show. You know what I mean? So they hear that. The one kid hears that, and he's like, wait a minute, you wrestled the fucking Big Show? Like, wait, because he doesn't know who Paul is. So then it clicks in his brain, like, man, this guy's really got to be somebody, and you see Paul laughing off, kind of like, yeah, I wrestled the Big Show. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who hasn't this guy wrestled? You know what I mean? Like, and it's just crazy to hang out with Paul because you never know what he's going to say story-wise. He has so many just incredible stories.
Yeah, he's got like such a just encyclopedia of knowledge and stories and experiences. It's just, that's the stuff I love when we are able to bring in these special guests. So that was kind of a long answer to Scott's question, but
sure.
Yeah.
It was kind of a two-parter question, I guess. This is a little bit, an add-on to that one. He wants to know, for after parties, were there any who were the biggest surprises on the Good Brothers scale? And I don't even know if there's anybody there wasn't anybody who really surprised me, I guess. I don't know. I thought everyone we bring in is always pretty cool. I've never seen anybody be like, damn, I thought they were going to be a dick and they were cool. Like, that's never really happened for me, at least. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, like, everyone was really hyping up Hager, and he didn't end up going to the after party because he had a super early flight. Mm-hmm. Heath was legendary. There's nobody that stands out that's just like, oh, that guy was weird at the after party. Slim J, he kind of surprised coming to the after party. He was super cool.
Yeah.
He had really no relationships with any of us. He was super cool.
He was a cool guy to me because that was, like, he hadn't been to, had he been to AIW before? Or, and obviously,
no.
I was going to say, even if still probably hadn't been forever, but, didn't really know, didn't, like you said, didn't have any, buddies with anyone in the locker room or any type of real relationship, but came out and wanted to hang out at the after party because he seems like a guy to me who just really loves wrestling. Like, he just likes the idea. Like, he's like, oh, you guys are going to after party hangout? Like, everyone from the locker room is going? Like, yes, like, I'm down for that. Like, he seemed like such a nice guy and genuine in the fact that he just seems to love wrestling and, like being around the business and, and go and talk and shop and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, but there's nobody that really stood out as a surprise.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Or like, also like legendary brother scale, other than Heath, who just like shut it down.
When he was eating that pizza and just standing against the wall with Guns N' Roses playing it was ultimate. That was the best. We got to bring him back, man. We got to get Heath back. We got to bring Slim J back. There's a handful of guys we got to get back. Got to get back in the fold. Well, if there's anybody, if you're out there listening and you want to ask a question, you're thinking to yourself, I have a question I want to ask, get in the Discord, join our Patreon and get in the Discord. And you can submit your question and we'll answer it here. Anything you want to talk about Hell on Earth wise? I know we mentioned, we're bringing in Tully Blanchard. We talked about all the names.
No, I just want to, I would really like to kind of, with the taking October off and all that stuff, I'm just really hopeful that we're able to kind of, get a very nice crowd showing and all that stuff. We haven't really been pushing too hard, but you're going to start seeing that in the next few weeks. Matches are going to start rolling out and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm just hopeful. I would love to hit that 600-700 number out in Eastlake. I think that would be awesome to do out there. Especially after such the long layoff and all that stuff. That's really the goal, is to pack that place out there. And then like I said, we're gonna do December in Akron, and then from there you're gonna probably see some smaller stuff next year. So kind of the last time we can really push trying to pack it in the Cleveland area. Just based on capacity issues, I think it's going to be not, I'm not getting too far ahead of myself, but, I think it's going to be easier to kind of hit those goals at these smaller venues of selling out, or, at the very least, selling out of those premium tickets and things like that. So, I'm really hopeful that we can get one last big one here in Eastlake before we kind of change the business model.
I love Force Sports. Eastlake is a great venue. There's a lot of things we talk about with venues on this podcast, but Force Sports, free parking, tons of free parking. They have, their own concessions. There's a bar inside, full bar. Great prices for drinks. I've never heard anyone, whine about the prices of drinks at Force Sports. Like I said, full bar, all kinds of, you can get mixed drinks, all that stuff. They got seltzers, everything like that. They got food there. Are we bringing Monsoon and Jim to do concessions? I know they have in the past.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I believe Monsoon and Jingle Toes will be, at the concession booth. Monsoon took him on the AEW field trip.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I mean, nothing. I don't even know what to call this podcast. What do we even talk about?
We typically been calling them the State of the Unions. I don't even know. I think we just I don't even know what to call this one. Just a refresh, I guess, on the
Q&A.
Q&A, yeah, kind of.
Is this a Q&A?
Anything else you want to talk about? And anything? I know you said you wanted to really try and pack the place. I think Hell on Earth. We haven't announced any matches yet, but obviously one of our big four marquee
It's a good card.
shows.
I mean, I'm very confident in the card. I think people are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the talent that's been announced alone, I mean, Donovan Dijak, Alec Price, Matthew Justice, John Wayne Murdoch, Beast Mordos. Who am I forgetting? Has anybody else been announced yet?
Alec Price, Matthew Justice.
Price, yeah.
That's it for right now.
I mean, that's a pretty stacked, that's pretty stacked right there. You know what I mean? Like those are some heavy hitters right there, in my opinion. So come on out, support it. Like we said, we only got two more rows left of premium seating. Other than that, it's going to be standing room only, general admission type stuff. So come on out. We got free parking, great concessions, all kinds of full bar. What else am I? What else am I missing here?
I mean, Tully Blanchard pre-show meet and greet. Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited about it. I just I really think that just the new kind of vision as a whole is going to really kind of just revitalize AIW and rejuvenate everybody. And I think it's, as much as, like I said, we really wanted to grow into that big, gigantic room and, fill that thing. And, it's a hard thing to do on a bi-monthly basis. It's a hard thing to do once a year. You know what I mean? So I just think that this is a better model going forward. And I think that I'm trying to think of how to word it. I just think that it was just, it helped us grow, but also kind of lowered engagement at the same time, as strange as that sounds.
Yeah, I don't want to say watered it down, because that's not the right word, but it's like we got bigger, but it was like almost like, yeah, like that's not the right word for it, I guess. But do you know what I'm saying by that?
I don't know what the word is either, but it's just like we used to have such a large engagement that came to the after parties and engaged on social media and engaged in everything we did, and like the base, so to speak, like was so much larger than the current kind of base of people that you see every time. And it's weird that the crowd grows, but the base doesn't grow. And like the crowd has been interchangeable, the crowd makeup as a I guess collective. But you don't really see that base of people, you know what I mean? Those faces that are in that front row. The front row, it's usually the same people, you know what I mean? And then for a while it was like the front row, second row, it was all the same people, but then it's like the front row are the same people, and then the front rows aren't selling out, you know what I mean? And then it's just like, then the second rows aren't selling. It became this mishmash of people, and it's just like the crowds would get big, but then you're not getting that kind of, you know what I mean? Like that super retention as far as engagement. And I think that has to do with just atmosphere being so big and so wide and so spread out. I think, when we were in the Odeon, it was just such a funner and more kind of intimate vibe. And I could be wrong, if you think I'm wrong, sound off in the Discord, let me know. But I really feel strongly that I think that, changing the vibe to a smaller, more intimate setting is really going to kind of just change the, I guess, makeup of the crowd and the energy of the crowd.
Fair enough. All we can do is, go forward and see what happens, right?
Yeah, and if it goes bad, then we'll go back to trying to fill gigantic rooms again, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know.
If there's one thing AIW will do, it will thrive and adapt and change and figure out what to do. I don't think
you have to experiment. You have to experiment, and you have to try things, and you have to, you can't get complacent, because when you get complacent, you die. So, that's why we're always kind of mixing things up and changing things. And, if we lose a venue, we don't just give up. We find a new place or things like that. So in 2025, that's going to be 20 years of AIW. That's pretty fucking crazy, actually, too.
We got to start cooking some 25-year anniversary shit up right now, dude. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, so pretty crazy that it's going to be 20 years of AIW in 2025. So I think it's only fitting to kind of, we were born in these, we were born in Concert Club, Peabody's. I think it's just only fitting to kind of go back to that vibe. I think that's really just where we've always done our best. Mount Carmel is kind of the outlier in that, but it was even, that was not that big of a gym. You know what I mean? That was a small sized gym with super, super limited floor seating. So I just think that it's just, I feel strongly it's the way to go. And we're still going to be able to get a few hundred people in these places, but it's not going to be, like a 2,000 capacity room,
Yeah.
It's going to, they're all under 1,000, I think, capacity. So when you put a ring in there, you're really bringing that capacity down, for seating. So,
right.
Just things, just putting this out there for, I don't think that we get, the whole world is listening to this podcast, but the people that are listening to this podcast are probably a lot of those premium ticket buyers. So I'm planting the seeds now for everybody. When they see, hey, we're at the so-and-so in the Cleveland area in January and front row tickets go on sale, don't be like, I'll get them. There's going to be instantly 50% less available. So
right.
I'm putting all of that out there now, and it's not going to be like, oh, hey, could you, could you get me into the, we're not going to be able to do that. Like, we're not going to be able to add like another front row seat because like you have my friend on Facebook and you can send me a direct message. Like, I'm not going to be able to do it. Like, that's just not how it's working with these places where we're going. So, things are set in stone. So we're saying it now. When those tickets go on sale, if you are a front row person, you're going to want to get them. And if they sell out, there's going to be just as few second rows. And then that's probably it. The venue that we're talking to in, that's going to be different than where we're going in January. There's going to be some additional seating options at that place. But, that just kind of got pushed back when we were going to go there. So that's to be determined.
All right. Well, you heard it first. Don't sleep on tickets on these newer.
I'm not trying to be cryptic either.
No.
I just can't,
Sometimes
I can't announce them yet. I can't announce these things yet.
Sometimes we're too transparent. I think we should get a little cryptic here sometimes just to mess with people. But yeah, I think that fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I think that kind of does it. Anything else you want to get to before we get out of here? There's no more questions or anything like that. I know it was a little shorter one today, but
no, I mean, I'm good. Get your questions ready for next week.
Yeah, hit us up. We'll be back one of these days next week. We're not promising any specific day. That's it. We don't want to lock ourselves into a hole there. I think that was our problem at first, just locking ourselves down. Schedules are too busy, so
it's hard.
All right.
It's hard with everything else.
Very true. All right. Well, for myself, for John Thorne, for everybody at AIW, we'll see you next time. Thanks.